Muhammad was the final prophet of God, says the 1.9 billion Muslims. No, wait. If you ask these Muslims, who most Muslims don't agree on are actually Muslims, Muhammad is the second to the final messenger. Or actually, no, that's not true either. Because if you ask these guys, they believe Muhammad was a political leader and a reformer. You guys get it all wrong. Muhammad is a false prophet and, by the way, was a danger to society. Say the Jewish and Christian groups. But wait till you actually ask these guys. He didn't exist. And before we go any further, quick reminder for the comment section. Disagreeing with someone is not an excuse to insult, threaten, or dehumanize them. History debates don't require death threats. Shocking, I know. Okay. Everyone looks at Muhammad differently. But here's the first catch. Almost all historians, religious or secular, agree that Muhammad existed. So the real debate isn't whether Muhammad lived. The debate is, what exactly was he? A prophet? A reformer? A statesman? A conqueror? Or just a man who convinced half the Middle East to start a new civilization? And before we can talk about his life, his message, or his impact, we first have to do something historians absolutely love. Categorize humanity? Okay, so Muslims make up roughly 25% of the world's population. They believe Muhammad was the final prophet of God who received divine revelation, performed miracles, but not on command, and never claimed to be God. 34% of our population is Christians and are basically the antagonists of Muhammad. But here's where it gets interesting. Many historians within Christian societies do acknowledge that Muhammad sincerely believed he was receiving revelation. Jews make up about 0.2% of the global population. Judaism does not recognize Muhammad as a prophet, but does not deny his historical existence or political impact. Then we have atheists and secularists, roughly 16%. They believe Muhammad was a man, an extraordinary one, but still a man, whose success can be explained through sociology, psychology, and a suspicious amount of desert charisma. Finally, we have and I'm so sorry for mashing all of you together, the others. So the Hindus, Buddhists, deists, and other minor religious groups, they make up the remaining 25%. Some view Muhammad as a reformer, some as a lawgiver. Some don't think about him at all, until he starts trending on Twitter. So what does that leave us with? Roughly 1/4 of humanity believes Muhammad received divine revelation. Another massive portion believes he was historically real, influential, and deeply sincere even if they reject the source of his message. And only a tiny, very online minority claims he didn't exist at all. Now, before someone says, majority rule, case closed. No, but history isn't democracy. History doesn't work like elections. At one point, most humans believed the Earth revolved around the sun. Turns out, it didn't. So historians don't ask how many believed Muhammad was a prophet. They ask what evidence exists. And here's where things get comfy. Muhammad is one of the best documented figures of late antiquity. We have early biographies, thousands of transmitted sayings, a text the Quran compiled within a generation of his death, non-Muslim sources mentioning him within decades. This is not the case of King Arthur or the Hercules. Even skeptical historians agree. Muhammad united Arabia, led a socio-political movement, claimed to receive revelation, and died in 632 CE as the leader of a new civilization. So the argument isn't, did Muhammad exist? That ship sailed centuries ago. The argument is this. Was he actually receiving revelation? Science versus history. Again, science wants repeatability. If someone today claims an angel spoke to me in a cave, science says, cool, do it again, under lab conditions. History can't do that. History deals with one-time events. A man claiming revelation, a community believing him, a civilization forming around that belief. You can't rewind time and install surveillance cameras in 7th century Mecca. So when skeptics say, there's no scientific proof Muhammad spoke to God, they're technically correct. But here's the catch. Lack of scientific proof is not proof of deception. It just means science wasn't there. Miracles or messages. Interestingly, Islam doesn't lean heavily on physical miracles. The Quran repeatedly downplays spectacle. No walking on water. No public resurrection demos. Instead, the central miracle is the text itself, its language, structure, and impact. Muslims say, this couldn't have come from Muhammad. Skeptics say, of course it could. Same evidence, different conclusions. Absolute versus relative truth again. For Muslims, Muhammad's prophethood is absolute truth. The Quran is the word of God. End of discussion. For non-Muslims, that claim is relative. A secular historian's natural explanation is absolute truth to them. To a believer, that explanation is just another interpretation. So we're back where we started. Everyone says, my truth is absolute, everyone else's is relative, which is just a polite way of saying, you're wrong, I'm right. So what was Muhammad? A prophet? A revolutionary? A statesman? A man shaped by history or one who made it? The answer depends less on evidence, and more on what you accept as possible. If revelation is impossible, Muhammad wasn't a prophet. If revelation is possible, then dismissing him isn't rational either. And that's the real Muhammad problem. Not whether he existed, not whether he mattered, but whether you believe the universe is allowed to speak back.